Oh, where's my car? I feel like I've been walking in circles for days. I wish someone had warned me about winter. I'll never find my car in this mess.
Excuse me, sir. Is this your car?
What? Wow, what a dump. No, I'm not talking about my messy garage. I'm talking about this snowfall. I just got back from Germany and found 27 inches of snow in my neighborhood with drifts up to 6 feet tall. That's me feet tall. So this all got me thinking, while we have all this snow on the ground, we should talk about considerations for your car during winter. And this could actually apply to many vehicles, but of course, being the Miata enthusiast I am, I'll talk about Miata ownership in the winter as well. So there are two different routes you can take with winterization: the daily king or the garage queen. So let's say you take your car out to play in the snow, or maybe you have a legitimate need to actually commute. This could even apply to your daily driver if you do have a garage queen. Some people have multiple rides. One of the first things I do want to recommend is actually from our friends over at Auxito, who actually supplied most of the lighting in my Miata. They have this jump starter with air compressor. So basically what this is a multifaceted product. It is an engine starter, like in case your battery dies in the winter, which does happen. Batteries do struggle a bit more in the winter. It's a power bank. It can charge some of your devices, has an LED emergency light, and a tire inflator. So 4 in 1. It comes in this sweet carrying case. And once you actually sit it down and get it open, the product itself has everything you need. Here's the hose for airing up your actual tires, some airing up accessories, even one for a ball, like a basketball or something. Here is the jump start cables for your battery. So that is a fantastic way to rescue yourself. And here's the actual component itself. Sweet packaging. I love this carrying case, and this should actually fit nicely in the Miata. It is small enough. So now you can see the device out in the open. You have the screen right there, the light right there, the USB ports right there. There's the input, or I guess output, for the air compressor. And here's the jump start hidden little compartment thing. Wow, that's so satisfying. So here's the unit itself, powering it on. Should be probably about 80%. Yep, 80% state of charge on shipping, which is good. You don't usually want to ship things fully charged. Here's the input for USB-C. The output is USB-A. I do wish they had a USB-C output, but that might be a future generation. That's where you can plug in the hose. And here's the light, by the way, which is solid or flashing red, which is cool. So different methods for either emergency use, making people see your location, etc. But that's kind of nice to have. And this is where here it is. The terminals for jump starting your car are plugging in right there. Fortunately, my car is not dead, but if it does die, this will be great to have in my car. Now, the plus and minus tell you which PSI to use, and memory. There's 4 different memory banks in this thing. So your car or motorcycle, bicycle, or basketball. Those are just the 4 images or icons for each memory. You can actually use the memory for whatever. I could have a summer and winter memory set up for my Miata and a summer and winter memory set up for the Jeep. So a huge thanks to Auxito for sending that over. I think that's invaluable really all year, but especially winter, just for a little bit of peace of mind. Now, beyond that, you can also get winter tires. Now there are winter actual proper tires like these Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5s. I do have a whole video on this, by the way. This video I'm just touching on a bunch of little things. You can get winter studless tires, winter studded tires, which I implore you to use only on hardcore conditions. Studs are actually harder on the concrete, and they just wear kind of faster in some cases, but whatever you need for your application. You also can do all weather or all season tires. The Subaru right here, my roommate's, has all season tires. All weather are a bit better for snow. All season can handle snow sort of, but you definitely want to check and make sure they are triple peak rated for snow. Those are the best ones to get. Nokian does have all weather and all season tires. Those are my preferred tire brand, but there are a lot of great options out there from, you know, Bridgestone and all sorts of different companies. Pretty much everyone now has winter and all season tires, whatever you need. Pretty much every company out there has all season and all weather and winter tires. I just happen to have Nokians on these wheels, and then I have my summer tires on a different set of wheels. So you might want a different set of wheels for your car as well. There are also mud flaps, which can be great. Honestly, they look kind of cool all year. I might leave them on my car, but I did install them in a way where they're not too hard to remove. Mud flaps on your car. Plus I do have an actual roof rack sort of thing. It actually, one sits here, one sits here. You can hold skis and snowboards in case you want to hit the fresh powder in your car and on your boards and skis. Those are all other considerations, and they're also all, you know, pieces with their own videos. And then there are fluids and maintenance considerations to be had. Let me explain. Underneath the engine bay, of course, there is the windshield wiper fluid. I definitely recommend keeping this topped off. In fact, I actually need to add a little more in here for mine. And make sure it has some component of anti-freeze or something, whatever they use to make that stuff not freeze. Because I found out the hard way. I had a Prius that was from Texas, drove it up here to Colorado. The first time we needed to use that stuff, it had frozen inside the tank and could not be used. And you especially need it because in temperatures and in conditions like this, people are kicking stuff up on your windshield and it can become a hazard. You want to make sure you can clean it off. Beyond that, many people say it's good to change your oil maybe before winter. Just go into winter with having fresh oil. Not really serious need, especially if you're driving your car. We'll talk about the Garage Queen stuff later. But honestly, having best oil possible. Some people even use different viscosities of oil for winter weather because some oil can be optimized for warmer temperatures versus colder temperatures. It really depends on the climate you live in. But here in Colorado, I actually just run OW20 all year. It can't hurt to check your other fluids. Honestly, just going into winter can be a good time to do some quote unquote spring cleaning, which is ironic because it's not spring, it's the opposite. But maybe in spring again, you can do this all over again. But just checking everything, making sure all your I's are crossing, your T's are dotted, and just making sure all your fluids are topped up for, again, peace of mind. If you do leave for a while, it is good to leave your gas tank full. We'll talk about that in the Garage Queen section, of course, but having any sort of air in your gas tank can add to create condensation, and then that leads to some water in the lines, which can just all be bad. No engine likes any sort of water, just gasoline. So it also can't hurt to have safety things, you know, maybe a safety blanket in the trunk. Let's say you do get stranded. I mean, maybe you're on I-70 out in the mountains and they shut it down because of an accident. There's just a lot of things that can happen in very inclement, scary weather. Now, maybe you do just stay home, in which case, I don't know, this may not apply to you, but it can't hurt. And you might even run across someone who has broken down and didn't come prepared. They may need your help. So I always keep some water in my car, fresh water, maybe in some sort of thermos situation where it can't be frozen if I'm left outside for a while, or it takes a long time to freeze. Emergency blanket, emergency tools just in case, and of course the flashlight, like the Oxito one that I mentioned. So if you are going down to Florida or something and leaving your car for a while, that's a consideration. So speaking of what to do with your car sitting, let's talk to you Garage Queens. Seriously, no judgment. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes I judge them because sometimes I'm like, come on, just drive your car, man. It would love to be driven out in nice days like this, but I get it. Some of you have very precious builds. Some of you have very precious museum quality masterpieces that you take to car shows and maybe even conventions around the country. I don't know. Either way, here's some considerations for the Garage Queen. So admittedly, the Garage Queen concept isn't really me, but I still respect all of you guys who do it. Maybe you have a very limited special edition Miata that you hide away in the garage, or maybe a Corvette that you keep slumbering next to its sandwich board, a one-of-one build because ironically you optioned it with snow tires. Yes, that's a thing. People actually have a one-of-one Corvette because they went so deep into the options, they even spec'd it with snow tires just so it's one-of-one, because who would do that? Anyways, these are some of the tips and tricks for garage queens. Honestly, store it clean. Now, this might look a little bit clean from a distance, but up close, yeah, definitely not clean. Giving it a very thorough wash and wax can be really good. And even cleaning the inside as well. It's great to have it clean, especially if you put it under a car cover. You know, if you put a car cover on your car and you have any sort of dirt on it, that's just asking for the car cover itself to scrape the dirt into the paint, and that's just a bad, bad, bad situation. So I do recommend storing it nice and clean inside and out, because then you'll be so happy you did on the other side of winter. While you're cleaning the car, make sure you check the entire interior and trunk and glove box for things you might need. Nothing's worse than realizing you left your, I don't know, AirPods in the glove box and your car is tucked away inside a car cover and you're like, I don't want to undo that. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but like, this is just a single little tidbit to add to the already useful tips and tricks. Another thing, like I said before, if you are leaving the car for a while, don't leave it with an empty gas tank or even a partially empty one. Really, you want to have the gas tank nice and full. That means less air, less empty space in the tank for air to be in there and possible condensation, especially if there's fluctuations in temperatures where the car is being stored. It's just good to not have that empty space and, you know, things to happen to the fuel lines. Just fill it up. Don't be cheap. And while you're doing that, you might even want to add some fuel additives to it, especially if it is sitting for a long time. Now, different people have different opinions on which fuel additives to add, but you know, maybe if you have a special recommendation, leave it in the comments below. But otherwise, also make sure you start the car and run it for 30 seconds or so to circulate stabilized fuel through the system. Some people debate starting your car throughout the winter. I actually want to know what you guys think. Do you have recommendations on that? Because some people say start it gradually, like maybe once a month, just to make sure everything's good. Other people say it's better not to start it. Honestly, if it's being stored in cold temperatures, maybe don't just cold start it every month and let it sit there. I think the car would rather be driven a bit. But if it is in like a heated environment, like a shop or something, maybe it is okay to start it every once in a while and just get the oil, lubricants and everything running around in there. But if you want to know exactly what to do for your exact car, maybe check the forums on that. A lot of people are experts in their own specific car. And if you happen to know, just throw that in the comments down below as well. Sharing is caring. An oil change can also be a good thing before winter. Letting your car sit with new oil might be better than letting it sit with cold oil or old oil. Maybe, I'm not really sure on that. Some places I looked said to do that, some didn't. I don't really know. Honestly, for peace of mind, that's probably what I would do. Just store your car with nice new oil. At least I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. And also while you're in here, make sure the coolant and antifreeze is topped up, and make sure your coolant is not just straight water, especially if you're in cold storage. You don't want water freezing inside the pipes. Also, if you're storing it, a battery tender is a great thing to use, especially if you're storing it for a long time. This keeps the 12-volt battery just optimized and it prevents it from completely dying, which is not good. Those batteries do not want to sit dead. That is really hard on the battery. Some battery tenders even have temperature settings for the winter or whatever the winter settings mean. I guess optimizing it, maybe cycling through the battery a few times, you know, letting it get a little bit lower, then topping it back up. Those battery tenders are definitely priceless to have for long-term storage. Another thing to do is to inflate your tires. Cooler temperatures obviously can make the air, I guess, more dense, and the tires can deflate just a little bit. And if it is sitting for a long time on a deflated tire, that can actually maybe be a bit harder on the tire. It could even lead to flat spots maybe. Some people actually use like tire cradles and they store their cars on those. That's kind of an interesting solution, putting your car in like 4 tire cradles and then putting a car cover on that. Either way, just make sure your tires are properly inflated, just so they're not just sitting on one super like large flat spot for a while. You might even roll your car around a little bit without even firing it up. That could be a thing. I don't really know. Modern tire compounds, fortunately, have come a long way, so it's less of an issue as it was like decades ago, but it's still a good tip. Jack stands could be something to use, or maybe you have like a lift or something to keep the car suspended. Some people say that's good because you're leaving the car off the tires, but then other people say that could lead the suspension to droop unnecessary amounts, which could lead to weird suspension wear. That's one I'm not really sure on. So if you happen to know, is it okay to leave your car on jack stands or a lift for long, long periods of time? Of course, let me know in the comments. I'm seriously, there should be a lot of comments down there. Also, depending on your climate, some people say to leave like baking soda or something in the car to deter vermin, because it is a thing. Sometimes rodents can get in, eat the wiring looms, make themselves at home, cause chaos, leave a mess. I don't know. That's a wives' tale I've heard some people swear by, leaving baking soda or some sort of rodent deterrent or even bug deterrent. I don't know. It'd be great to keep these like airtight, but that's not always the case. A car cover is also a great solution. I know I mentioned that a couple times now, but there are lots of good car covers, including those by the likes of like Covercraft and other companies that make them specific to your car. I would maybe lean towards a more specific one rather than a generic one, but I'm sure you can make a generic one work. Again, I just highly, highly recommend do not put a car cover on a dirty car. That would be really bad on the paint. And then there's one possibly less obvious one, which is to ensure your insurance is up to date. Now, some people actually cancel their insurance if they're not driving their car for 3 or 6 or whatever months. If your insurance allows you to be that flexible, that's super cool. Don't pay for insurance on a car you're literally not driving. But if you do want to keep it insured, especially in the case of, you know, damage, God forbid, a fire or something catastrophic, that's why I probably would keep it. I would recommend keeping it insured. Make sure the address is on file, up to date on where the car is being stored. Sometimes there's cars that are, you know, stored in a different garage off-site from the home for long periods of time, in which case it might void some clause in the insurance that's like, hey, your car is only protected from theft or fire destruction or whatever if it is under your actual house's policy. Regardless, just look at the insurance, make sure everything is kosher and that your car is protected from anything. So that's it for Garage Queens. If I did miss anything, please let me know, because once again, that's not the actual camp I am in. I've just done some research, preliminary research, and tried to figure out what people around the world are saying on what they do for their cars if they keep them in the garage. So I've got Andreas here with me. And so I mentioned in the beginning, I just got back from Germany. You are from Germany.
That's correct.
Do you get snow like this in Germany?
Not that much, but we get decent snow every once in a while, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
Still can get cold over there.
Yeah.
But this week it was nice, like 60 degrees in Munich.
I love it.
But for this bonus section, I want to talk about electric cars. You drive an electric car.
That is true.
And I don't, but for work, I drive electric cars, sometimes with this guy. And yeah, there's a whole other slew of considerations, and actually a lot of things we get covered over on our out of spec channels, but I just want to mention really quick, you know, electric cars, your range might be impacted a little bit in the winter. So if you think, oh, in the summer I get 250 or 300 miles, don't expect that in the winter. Charging might take longer. Your car might take longer to precondition the battery pack. It's just going to be a bit slower to charge in the cold, freezing cold temperatures.
That's right.
Some cars even have heat pumps, which do help a little bit with efficiency. Heat pumps are just a more efficient way to warm the car or basically manage the temperatures inside the car. But even heat pumps have limitations. Below about 5 degrees Fahrenheit up to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Within that window, they're great, but above 68, obviously it's too warm. I don't know why I point out here, it's only 41, but I'm sweaty. All the crawling around the snow earlier. But below 5 degrees Fahrenheit, the heat pump actually won't really help either. Maybe it depends on the exact heat pump. Does your car have a heat pump?
No, I ordered 1 month too soon.
Oh no.
In Canada, and yeah, missed out on the heat pump.
He's got a Canadian Model 3, what, 2020?
2020, yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Nice, yeah. And I mean, what else? Everything else pretty much applies. I mean, you can get winter tires for electric cars all the same, and they're basically the same as winter tires for non-electric cars. They're said to have a bit more efficiency in mind with the rubber compound and stuff like that. Right. What else am I missing?
Winter, I mean, yeah, efficiency also is affected by the air density, right? In the winter it's colder, which means denser air, which affects efficiency overall.
Yeah, temperature and air density, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I will say being stranded in an electric car is a bit better. Like maybe you, I don't know, just get stranded on the side of the road because of the snow. You're not burning emissions while just sitting on the side of the road trying to keep warm. Your electric car can keep you warm for quite a while.
That's right. This is one of the misconceptions. People think it's gonna die after 1 hour. No, it can yeah, like 1% per hour is like the average, I believe. Like depends on the car, right?
Yeah, so basically days.
Yeah.
You can be stranded, and I don't know what the equivalent is with a gas car.
I don't know. Would be interesting.
We should do that. We should compare.
Oh my god, yeah, I like that. Just sit there idling the car.
So basically we have to tell Kyle we have to camp for 4 days and see which one dies first.
That's right, yeah. Love it.
But yeah, those are just some winter considerations. Can't even talk. Winter considerations, whether it's a daily king or a garage queen or even electric. A lot of fun things. Honestly, enjoy winter, whatever that means for you. If it is, you know, keeping your precious car inside, totally okay. Just please make sure your other car is at least remotely interesting, honestly. And then maybe you do drive your car in winter just like this one, gets driven all the time through ice and snow and everything. Enjoy that too. There's a lot of tips and tricks. If I missed anything on any of these categories, please throw them down below. And yeah, that's it. We'll see you guys in another video very soon. Thanks for watching another Flywheel Films film. And what do you say we just throw the drone up and do some electronic music and say goodbye that way?
Love it.